Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call it to order and begin as is customary with the observance of a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. I don't know if we have a flag.
I think we're working on it, I think.
Oh, are we?
I'm not, but I think Dawn may be.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's one right here. How's that?
Okay, there you go.
I
pledge
Allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Very good. All right. We will now entertain public comment. If any raised hands, seeing none, we will proceed with the agenda and look for approval of our minutes from our last board meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we're moved and seconded on approving the minutes of our November 5th meeting. Any comment or question or additions or deletions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. And that move and bring Treasurer Nguyen in to the meeting.
She's over in the attendees for some
Oh,
reason.
she is.
Yeah. Maybe she couldn't find the participant link.
Here she is. Sally, good morning. If you unmute, we'll hear you a little better.
Yeah, I wasn't on, I guess, the right way the first time. I couldn't get up on the screen.
Well, that's all right.
Okay.
You're perfect.
I am now. I guess that's what matters. We had receipts of $1,713.06. So we have a total cash of $2,163,902.49. We had expenditures of $1,240,721.33. We did not have any tax claim collections this week yet, and that leaves us a balance of $923,181.16. I do plan on moving some money from some of our from the savings account, and that way I'll be able to pay our insurance bill this week too. So that's going to come out yet this week.
All right. We'll seek a motion to approve your report as presented.
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comment or question? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. And Sally, you have another item you'd like to present?
Yes, this is a request for the records improvement funds. It's for $5,000 for programming that needs to be done to my collection program to be able to collect the school taxes for Lebanon City through our program. The program itself is there. It's just we have to change the amount of coupons because we have 4 coupons for payments, and some of the other counties, or the way the program was originally written, only did it for 3 coupons.
Sally, if I look at your paper, what I'm hearing you say is the opposite of what's written. How am I misinterpreting it? There it says program from 3 coupons to 4, but I think I heard you say 4 coupons to 3. Did I get it backwards?
Well, if I said it that way, I didn't mean to. It's the other counties, the program itself is programmed with 3 coupons now.
Okay,
we need to change it to 4 coupons.
Okay, all right, then I understand. Thank you.
All right. Seek a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the records improvement request for $5,000 to upgrade the software so that Sally can collect city school tax. I think a lot of people will appreciate that.
I think so too. We get a lot of people come in here and want to pay it, and well, of course, we can't take it.
Yeah, I get a lot of calls on that too.
Maybe we get a second.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second the motion, and then if I may, I do have a question.
You may.
Sally, yesterday, and I think you may have even been on board, we had some discussion about programs and continuing, satellite offices and organizations add programs, and we're not cleared with the support and the server space with the IT department. So I just wanted to verify that this has been cleared by Danielle and is something that will fit our hardware.
This program that we're changing is already on our system. It's a web-based program, I think, but yes, Danielle knows about this.
Okay.
This I would have liked to have ready for this July, but then it got cut off for that. So that's why we need to move ahead with this now. So she does know about this program.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
All right, good question. Any other comment or discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, Sally, have your money to go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll bring Michelle in.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Under personnel transactions, resignations, and terminations, Jamie Montalvo, caseworker 1, resignation effective November 27th. Charlie Darkes Berkey, part-time booking agent, resignation effective November 22nd. Derek McConnell, IT technician, resignation effective November 20th. Janine Potter, caseworker 2, resignation effective November 20th. Matthew Mofo, caseworker 1, resignation effective November 10th. Robert Eby, corporal, resignation effective November 15th. Eric Fulton, sergeant, retirement effective January 16, 2021. Jason Miller, sergeant, termination effective November 4th. Brandon Lease, full-time correctional officer at the prison, job abandonment effective November 9th. Patricia Waybright, clerk typist A, resignation effective November 13th. Bethany Graham, casual part-time developmental assistant, resignation effective November 9th. Isab Morejo, full-time developmental assistant, resignation effective November 23rd. And Dylan Moring, casual part-time deputy sheriff, resignation effective November 17th.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignations and terminations as read.
I will second the motion with a special shout out to Eric Fulton, sergeant at the prison, who has served 33 years with the county. Pretty outstanding.
All right, so noted. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign. So moved. Okay.
Under leaves of absence, Sydney Vega from the Department of Emergency Services, 13-day intermittent leave of absence, effective November 1st through December 22nd. And Christine Wolf from Area Agency on Aging, an additional 2-week of intermittent leave of absence, effective November 2nd through November 16th.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve those leaves of absence.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those leaves. Any comment? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. So moved.
Under changes of status, transfers, and promotions, Terry Walton Smith, promotion from imaging clerk and domestic relations to team clerk at the rate of $913.74 biweekly, effective November 30th. And Alyssa Engst, promotion from docket specialist in domestic relations to customer service specialist at the rate of $982.26 biweekly, effective November 30th. And Douglas Grove, transfer from full-time deputy sheriff in the sheriff's office to adult probation officer in probation services at the rate of $1,628.86 biweekly, effective November 30th.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those changes of status. Any comment or question? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
Under other transactions, District Attorney Graff would like to hire Joshua Grzek as a full-time Assistant District Attorney 1 at the rate of $1,881.56 biweekly, effective November 30th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Lexus Gass as a Customer Service Clerk at the rate of $849.98 biweekly, effective December 14th. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Cassandra Hillard as a team clerk at the rate of $913.74 biweekly, effective December 14th. And President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Barbara Stout as a clerk typist A at the rate of $790.68 biweekly, effective November 23rd.
I make a motion to accept those other transactions as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any question or comment regarding the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
Moving on to Salary Board, if there are no questions regarding the transactions presented, is there a motion to adopt these transactions onto the Salary Board?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve these through Salary Board, all these transactions. Any comment or question? Motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, and no mandatory or voluntary meetings up for discussion today. Is that correct?
No travel.
Yep, that's
Nope,
Yeah.
everyone's staying put.
it's very rare. Okay, it's good news. All right. Anything else? We're going to bring Erin Moyer in.
Good morning, Commissioners.
I do see her there. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Erin, and then you can proceed.
Sorry, what did you say?
Introduce yourself and your position, and then you may proceed.
Okay, yes. I am Erin Moyer. I am the Administrator for Children and Youth Services. I am here today to present placement provider contracts for fiscal year 2021. We have a total of 58 placement provider contracts for your approval. Of those, 20 providers have not requested increases, and 14 are medical assistance funded facilities, which are at no cost to the agency. The remaining 24 providers have requested increases, which average about 7%, and all of them are within the state required approved rate. These increases are due to increases in liability insurance for these facilities, as well as COVID-related expenses. I would ask that you approve our placement provider contracts.
So moved.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded, and we hope that after COVID, the rates will go back down. That'll be great.
I agree.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so moved. All right, next.
Okay. Lastly, I have our budget amendment. So this is for fiscal year 1920. We were overspent in the amount of $621,546. We are requesting a budget amendment in the amount of $482,361 to secure additional Act 148 funds from the state. This is the maximum Act 148 amount that we are able to request due to the state participation rate being approximately 80%. I am requesting approval of our budget amendment in order to file the appeal and hopefully secure the additional amount of Act 148 money.
I'll make a motion, but then I do have a question. So I'll move to approve.
Second.
Holding in question.
And seconded by Commissioner Litz. And Bill, go ahead.
Yes, Aaron, just clarify, probably for the commissioners as well as the folks that, the public that may be in attendance, as to how much county funds we're actually talking about here.
So we were overspent in the 600,000 amount. So we are requesting the 482 amount back from the state. So that would be the state's 80%. So the additional roughly
250.
150,000 would be the state share of 20, or the county share of 20%.
Okay.
And I, oh, go ahead, Bill.
No, you probably have the same question I have. Go ahead.
No, my question was, can you just give some illumination as to what caused the overage, just so people can, understand where that comes from?
Okay, so this was the past fiscal year. We did have an increase in placements for both children and youth and probation. Probation's placements required kiddos to be in secure facilities that are more expensive per day. So they did have a couple of kids that were in those placements for a long period of time, which caused the overage, but also children and youth was overspent as well due to an increase in placements, large sibling groups. So just placements in general from both agencies is what contributed to that over expenditure in 1920.
And I have a follow-up then.
Yep, go ahead.
Based on your association with the state agencies and the folks there, and with the situation that COVID has caused as far as reduction in revenues to all agencies and to the state in particular through loss of tax revenue, is there any rumblings or indication that this request will be honored or not to the full amount, or do we need to be on notice that there may be additional county funds required?
It has always been approved in the past, but I will say that obviously COVID impacts this. But I do know that a lot of counties were actually underspent this past fiscal year because of COVID and because of closures. A lot of counties handled it a lot differently. Service providers weren't able to continue working with kiddos and all of that. So a lot of counties didn't spend all of their allotted money. So my hope would be that the monies that other counties didn't spend could then go to us counties who had over expenditures and who were fully functioning during the time that we were closed for COVID. So I am optimistic, but I can't guarantee one way or another.
Bill, was that the source of your question?
Yeah, no, that was a very good answer, I think.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Yep,
All right.
yep.
So all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. All right, Aaron, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep, bye-bye.
This next item before we bring these guys on board, my apologies, you actually have it in your email, but this came about very rapidly with Brian and Sam because the state had a very short timeline to act on this. So, Brian, I would ask if you could possibly share your screen on the, not the narrative, but the shelter budget, as you explain what this is about. I'm throwing this at you, but we've had a bit of a busy week here.
And Brian, before you begin, would you mind introducing yourself and your position and so on?
Sure. Good morning, Brian Smith, Executive Director with Lebanon County Christian Ministries, and here specifically for our Fresh Start Emergency Family Homeless Shelter. Are you able to see my screen?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So we're coming today, as Jamie said, it's a very, very short turnaround for DCED Emergency Solutions Grant. It was released just here a little over 10 days ago. And part of the grant is really an opportunity for shelters to continue to streamline operations and assist with prevention of COVID spread and so forth. Real quick background, back in March, we transitioned our shelter from the congregate setting of rotating from church to church to a hotel motel environment. It falls in line with the some guidance that came out from HUD. Since March 13th through today, we've spent over $100,000 on hotel stays. We do not have a short-term solution to get out of a congregate environment. We have, knock on wood, been very successful with this operation. And with the numbers where they are right now, we were planning the end of December to transition to a semi-congregate setting, but where we're at, we have extended that to the end of January. We've been very blessed with grants and specific targeted donations that we were able to fund through the end of the year. However, moving into the 2021 calendar year, we will need to go into private donor dollars. So what we're asking the ESG grant is 1 year worth of operational expenses for our homeless shelter. It would be covering staff wages and benefits, hotel expense. As you can see, we've got that budget at $180,000, approximately $15,000 a month. Supplies, equipment, and client transportation services for us to move. So just shy of $300,000. Our goal is that if we could get this funding for this, we'd redirect some of our private donor dollars in another project we're working on to try to plan for long-term mitigation and long-term programs that would allow us to be in a non-congregate setting. So we do need the resolution from the county commissioners for the grant. It's $20 million across the entire Commonwealth. I don't know what the probability of achieving or getting this is, but if we don't apply, we won't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very competitive from what I understand from what Brian said. Can you talk a little about what the affiliation with our CAP would be? How that, why Samuel's involved?
Yeah, so the ESG funds are funded through DCD, and because of Lebanon County's Community Action Partnership is the kind of throughput for those funds. So while we would end up being the resource, the funds need to go through the county, then be distributed through our program for the operations for the year.
And not only they gave it, they announced it 10 days ago, but they also required 5 days of advertisement within that 10 days. So
yes.
Last Friday we scrambled and got it posted up on the county's webpage so that we could hopefully meet that 5 days between then and now. But you know, who knows? It was a very, very, it was very tight.
It was a tall order. You succeeded. Is there anything that we need to bring Sam in for? We have the director of our CAP program, Sam Ortiz, on board. If there's anything for him to add.
Good morning, commissioners and everyone else.
Good morning, Sam.
Just wanted to let you all know the application has been submitted on Tuesday. There are some supporting documents that need to be sent in, but we have up to 30 days. So that's good. We can mail a packet over to DCED. Brian did a great job with all the requirements quickly. So looks like we're good to go, and then we'll just wait for their response.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Litz has a question.
Yes, I do. I'm curious, since the commissioners are being asked for approval, are we on the hook at all for liability?
The grant program is, I mean, not for any funds. It's a pass-through. The program would be administered by LCCM. If that's what you're asking.
I think that's something I would have to dig into the regulations, and I can get back to you with that via email, Commissioner Litz.
Okay, because if it is, Jamie has to contact our insurance provider.
Oh, you meant like general liability, not financial liability.
Right.
It wouldn't be much different than so many other grant programs we have that flow through here and go to providers. So I don't believe so, but we can check on it.
We'll delve into that question.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Commissioner.
I was going to say, that being said, I'd be happy to place a motion on the floor to support the Lebanon County Christian Ministries and Community Action Partnership grant application to DCED to provide for the homeless shelter for a year.
Okay.
Right. I'll second the motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve that. I believe Brian referred to it as a Fresh Start grant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So ordered. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, commissioners.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Stay safe, guys.
You too.
Okay. Now we have, I see Brett and his crew are next on board from Stiefel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Jamie, do you have Brett Agnew and Corey by chance on the line as well, if I could ask?
Yeah, we have Corey is out there
Okay,
as an attendee. Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Corey.
And also
Hey, how are you?
B. Agnew. Stand up. Don, you want to bring B. Agnew in there if you can. There you go.
All right. Second, we'll have our full complement here. There we go. All right. If you folks locally would like to launch, and then we'll go from there. More.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just came in. Thank you for having us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for having us in this morning. Just to kind of introduce ourselves, my name is Brett Holland with Stiefel. This is Mike Battistelli with Stiefel. And then we also have Brett Agnew, who's a senior advisor consultant with Franklin Templeton, and Corey Hardy, he's vice president, portfolio specialist regarding the large cap growth piece. He's going to be addressing that a little bit today that's involved with the pension. So I just mentioned there about Franklin Templeton, just as a side note, Franklin Templeton purchased Legg Mason, which is one of the managers that we utilize with the pension, a few months ago. And so if you see correspondence with Franklin Templeton, the portfolio and the managers and everything has remained the same. But if you see that name, that's why you see that name. It's we would consider it a non-event at this point in time. So we were just going to take a few minutes, if Mike and I could take a few minutes just to kind of update on the pension. And then Corey's going to share a little more specifics about the Legg Mason piece that he assists in overseeing. So in your booklet there that we shared with you, hopefully you have that there with you on page 1, page we typically go over. In the top left corner of the page, if you will, the combined portfolio, this is just the returns, and this is through September 30th of this past year. Through the quarter, for the quarter, return was 5.64%, and the year-to-date number was January through the end of September was 1.6%, and then a one-year number going back from October 1st of last year through September of this year was 5.92% on the overall portfolio. Then underneath that, we always talk about the allocation with regards to the investment policy statement and so on. The allocation as of the end of this report was showing equities there of 64%. We always break out that REIT portfolio or that real estate investment trust piece. If you look at just straight up equities, we're at 60.37%, and the REIT portfolio is 3.78%. And then the fixed income there is listed at 29.8, and the cash portion is 6.06%. Any questions on any of that at all?
Nope.
Okay, up in the top right-hand corner is kind of regarding the activity in the account. That chart, underneath that chart, it shows beginning market value, and I'll just do the quarter. The beginning market value for the quarter, which would have been July 1st, was $123,146,951. And then during that time underneath there, you see net contributions and withdrawals of $1,053,316. And there were withdrawals during that time, obviously for retirees, but the ARC payment was also put in at that time. And the ARC payment that we received was $3,158,684, just to kind of give some perspective. That's why it shows an addition there in that net contribution area. Then underneath that, capital appreciation or growth of $7,097,963. And then the total balance as of the end of the quarter, Mike will have up-to-date numbers. At the end of the quarter was $298,230. So any questions on that at all?
Just maybe with the activity in the stock market, do we have any hope that the ARC may be reduced a little bit?
Is that a question to us, Commissioner?
Well, or Bob Metley, I'm not sure if he's.
I would think because the ARC was calculated on 131 million at the time we turned it in. So if at the end of the year, the balance is higher, I would think that it would be less. Now, how much less, I couldn't guess, but it may be a surprise like it was the other year when we were, what, 600,000 less. So if the market continues, it definitely will be less.
And the other question I have, did we punt on the assumption change the last time we talked about that, with the...
No, we changed
do we
to 7 1/4.
We did move it a little bit.
Yes, we moved it
I
to 7
couldn't-
1/4.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't go the whole way, but we went.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I got.
Okay. And then one other point we just wanted to mention was at the end of the year, we always like to bring up the investment policy statement just to kind of get that refreshed and see if there's anything that needs updated with that. After this meeting, we're going to forward that over. Jamie, if it's okay, we'll send it over to you. And then typically we would ask the board to review that if there's any changes or recommendations that you all would have with that. If not, maybe in the February meeting, we can just get a signed copy just for all of our records and so on. Mike and I, we have no recommended changes at this point ourselves with it at all. Then the last thing, I'll hand it over to Mike, and then we'll have Corey and Brett share a little more specifics. Go ahead, Mike.
So just to give you
I got a quick question before Brett goes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
Going back to the return, we have the quarter to date, year to date. Do you have from the end of the quarter to now? Do you have the updated return number? If you did, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, that's right. That's what Mike's going to share right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Good tee up there, Jamie.
So yeah, these numbers I'm going to give you, these are not audited numbers. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time after the quarter end to get those audited numbers that just went through. So these are unofficial, but they should be pretty accurate. So the balance through November 17th was 137,293,123.
Wow.
Okay, so we've had October was down a little bit. Again, the lead up to the election, I think, had a lot to do with that. Some uncertainty there, what direction that was going to go in, but the month of November here has really been strong. What that does give us, again, unofficially, is the return now is at 7.08%.
Wow.
And again, the net number for the year, as far as withdrawals, is $3,871,946.
All right. Very good.
Allocation-wise, equities have grown a little bit, obviously, from the numbers I just gave you. So pure equities, taking out the REIT piece, we're at 62.56%.
I think Commissioner Litz had a question, or she's having difficulty hearing.
My pen quit right when you started to say what amount we have today. And could you repeat that amount? 3 million?
So the withdrawal amounts year to date, the net withdrawal amounts is $3,871,946.
Oh, that was a withdrawal. Okay, so you didn't get to the bottom line yet.
Yeah, that was first.
I'll give that to you again. The balance as of November 17th, $137,293,123.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And that's awesome.
I don't know, Mike, if you have a microphone that's further away, maybe you could bring it closer because there's like an echo. And my hearing is a little sensitive. It's hard to distinguish your numbers. just for the future, if you think of that.
We will.
Okay, yep.
Thank you.
Regarding the allocation, we are slightly outside the typical range within your investment policy on the equity piece, 2.5%. It's not a lot. So we would probably recommend that we just stay there for now. Fixed income, we're unfortunately not getting paid very well. It's hard to make a return. And I think when we come back in February, we'll revisit that. If we're still outside that range, then we'll probably consider, getting it back more in line with the investment policy. And we do have that ability within the investment policy to stay outside that range for a period of time, I think is the wording. So we'll just consider that at that point, see where the ranges are from that standpoint. So any questions with the up-to-date numbers?
Nope. Keep up the good work with that. That's great.
As I mentioned, we'll send over the investment policy to Jamie for your review and just to get it up to date, get that document up to date for next year.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You want to continue?
And with that, we'll ask Corey to join us here. Corey again represents, he's one of the managers again with the ClearBridge large cap growth piece, which represents a little over 14% of the overall pension. So with that, Corey, we'd be happy to hear you share your remarks.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for having me. Just quickly, I wanted to kind of set the stage. Is it helpful, most helpful if I just kind of go over where we were thinking from an economic perspective and then go right from there, right into the portfolio and how we performed and what's done well, what hasn't for the year?
That's fine with me.
Great. Great. So from an economics perspective, we are still very, very positive on the broader economy, but maybe not quite as positive as some of our peers. We think growth will continue, to be clear, but we just think the pace of growth will start to slow a little bit. So if we back up for a second and think about where we've come from, we entered 2020 coming off of a year, 2019, where the S&P 500 was up over 30%. And markets were really priced to perfection. So as portfolio managers, we were kind of looking at the strategy and trying to de-risk wherever possible, given that markets had run so significantly. So for those of you who are familiar with price earnings ratios, the price earnings ratio on February of this past year was 19 times. If you're not familiar with price earnings ratios, it's essentially like a price tag for the stock market, and 19 times earnings is relatively expensive for the broader stock market. So we were trying to be cautious of the fact that markets really had run significantly into 2020, and we were trying to de-risk the portfolio wherever possible to protect on the downside. And we were seeing some signs of slight weakness in the broader economy. So we were a little bit contrarian in that regard. Jump forward to March, we were right for the wrong reasons. We did not predict a pandemic, believe it or not. So the sell-off was a little frustrating for us, given that we were positioned in a defensive manner. We thought the portfolio should have done better in that environment than it did. The reason it did not was because stocks that are typically extremely defensive, think consumer staples and the like, were not nearly as defensive as they would historically be during a pronounced drawdown of that magnitude. But tech stocks, ultra high growth stocks, actually were very defensive. So we had been reducing exposure to those sorts of names. So even though we were right, and again, we were right for the wrong reasons, even though we were right, the portfolio didn't behave the way we would have liked the portfolio to have behaved. Coming out of that, so jumping forward to where we are today, we do believe that the market has really underappreciated the zero cost of capital environment. So we all hear all the time how low interest rates are. That's a really powerful thing for growth investments, because when interest rates are as low as they are right now, growth is extremely easy to come by because borrowing capital to invest in your business is extremely cheap. So right now, growth is the place to be in our opinion, but we don't think that low interest rate environment that has facilitated growth over the last several years and will likely continue to facilitate growth over the next 12 to 18 months, we don't think it'll be here forever. So those ultra high multiple stocks, so think of Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, we own most of those stocks in this portfolio, but we are trying to be mindful of the embedded risk that those stocks present. So we have actually exited Google this past quarter in favor of overweighting Facebook, and I'm happy to discuss that in more detail. We don't own things like Tesla. Instead, we'll own things that play into that similar theme of connectivity and electric vehicles, but we will own them in a name that is much cheaper than 100 times price to earnings ratio. So again, that's that valuation. The broader market is around 19 times and Tesla is at 100 plus times. That's extremely expensive. And in our opinion, if you're wrong on Tesla, the downside is way more pronounced than the potential upside. And that's how we look at the world, downside versus upside. And we want to balance those two things. We don't want to get out of our skis and be too kind of momentum oriented. Because if we are wrong, it's going to cost a lot of money for us being wrong. So where it stands today is we've actually positioned the portfolio for more up capture, which means we're more pro-cyclical. We think the economy is going to continue to go higher. We've reduced diversification within the portfolio in terms of the number of names. So we've concentrated our bets into fewer names, but those names are names that we think will do well in a lower growth environment. So we think growth is going to continue. We just think that the pace of growth is going to slow and the market is going to broaden out. Instead of just looking at these ultra high growth names, these lower growth names that are trading at more reasonable valuations will come more into vogue, and the portfolio we think will benefit from that significantly. So jumping to the quarter, for the third quarter, the portfolio itself was up around 12.5%, and our benchmark, the Russell 1000 Growth Index, was up about 13%. So we kept pace essentially with the market, and the reason we didn't outperform the market was the exact dynamic I was just mentioning to you. Not being ultra overweight, the ultra high growth names has obviously depressed performance. So for example, one of the biggest detractors for the quarter, or the biggest detractor for the quarter from a sector perspective, was consumer discretionary. Now, not owning Tesla cost us a significant amount of relative performance. And again, Tesla was up 99% in the one quarter. That would be lovely if you owned it, but if you're wrong and that goes down, that's going to really burn you. And Tesla's at 100 times price to earnings. So that costs us about 90 basis points, or almost 1% of performance. But we do own names like Aptiv and NXPI. So Aptiv is about 1% of the portfolio. That's at 28 times earnings, and that develops safety features for advanced auto components. So something like a high voltage harness that will play in the exact same arena as Tesla, but in a way more risk adjusted way, in our opinion. Same thing with NXPI. It's a semiconductor name that supplies essentially what can be thought of as the brains for electrical content within vehicles. Vehicles is 50% of NXPI's revenue based on 2019 revenue, and that's trading at 17.8 times earnings. So significantly lower risk, in our opinion, embedded in those names, and you play the same themes that you would play via Tesla. So that's kind of where our head is at so far in terms of portfolio construction. Just really quickly going through performance, and then I'll turn it over for questions. Information technology was another large detractor. We have a lower weight in information technology than our benchmark does. That is not a broad-based opinion that infotech is not the place to be. We love information technology. We, again, are just underweight those ultra large growth names, which has kind of made us look relatively underweight to the benchmark. But we do own a lot of smaller names that you maybe don't hear of every single day that are doing extremely well in that space. So names like Salesforce up 34%, NVIDIA up 40%, Qualcomm, and XPI, which we talked about, have all done really, really well. And then in terms of what has worked, industrials has worked very well for us. We had names like C.H. Robinson that were up 30% for the quarter. And if you're not familiar with that name, that's a trucking logistics company. And this kind of gets to the way we think about the world. It's easy to hang your hat on names that have done well, like C.H. Robinson. But for us, if a name's up 30%, it actually warrants us reevaluating that name. And since the end of the quarter, we've actually taken the opportunity to harvest our gains in that name and get it out of the portfolio completely, because at the point it's trading now, we think it's reflecting full value, and we think we could do better in terms of upside, downside risk elsewhere within the portfolio. And in terms of other areas of the market that did well for us, communication services. So selling Google was actually positive for us on the quarter. Owning more Facebook was positive for us in the quarter. And then healthcare was another area of relative contribution to the portfolio And then rounding that out, we had real estate, which is a small exposure for us. And that's more Equinix, which is a software real estate company. And in our opinion, that's more of a tech name than a real estate name. But nonetheless, it did well for us. And then consumer staples also did well for us. And that was partly because of an underweight. So that's really the quarter in a nutshell. I know I threw a lot at you folks there. Is there any questions on anything I touched on? Yes, please ask.
I was curious, you said that you purchased, if I understand correctly, more Facebook. What percentage increase and how's it doing?
Yeah, so Facebook is doing well. Recently, it's come back a little bit. So we sold fully out of Google, which was a pretty meaningful exposure for us. It was probably a 3 or so % position. We did not put all of that money into Facebook. So it wasn't a dollar for dollar out of Google into Facebook. But Facebook is one of our largest holdings at the moment. And in our opinion, Facebook just has more levers to pull to win in this environment than Google does. So if you look at their business mix, so what different lines of revenue do they have? Facebook has way more diversified lines of revenue that collectively have differentiated margins. And some of them are very strong other than the core Facebook product. So think of things like Instagram and WhatsApp. They have good margins and they continue to grow. Whereas Google, it's really just search that's doing well for them. And clearly they're extremely dominant within search, but all their other revenue streams are actually atrophying and their margins aren't great there. And then on top of that, margins at Facebook are just better overall. So for
How much do we have invested in Facebook?
In Facebook at the moment, let me just pull up current holdings so I'm not giving you dated numbers. It's 5.8% of a dynamic model. So your personal exposure could vary based on implementation, but it would probably be right about there.
Mr. Chairman.
Let's go ahead, Commissioner.
Based on the rumblings with the social media and even antitrust being mentioned in regards to Facebook and some of the other social media, does that put up a red flag for you, or are you marching ahead full steam?
It absolutely does put up a red flag for us. So when we buy names or invest in names like we did with Facebook, for example, part of our process is that we'll create what we call a one-pager where we lay out in concrete detail what we think the stock is doing well, what we think is different than what the market thinks. So what is our edge in owning this name? And then lastly, where could we be wrong and what are the biggest risks to this name? So if there's a name that we all think is just the greatest thing ever, and there's nothing that could go wrong with this name, we'll actually go out and hire someone on the sell side research side of the Wall Street to come in and argue a negative case to us, just so we know we're not missing anything. And to your point, Facebook, that is the biggest thing that could go wrong, is a significant crackdown on Facebook's platform. The reason why we're not overly concerned about that from a long-term perspective, in the short term, that could absolutely be something that causes Facebook to have short-term weakness. But long-term, we think it's a lower probability event because at the end of the day, these are optional platforms. And Mark Zuckerberg has been extremely clear in all the proceedings that he's been to, is that he welcomes reform. If it's done on the law side, he's not going to implement overall reform on his side. So we think that a lot of that risk has already been embedded in the stock. And on top of that, at the end of the day, a lot of these companies do hold somewhat of a trump card in that they can say, we're just going to provide more transparency in the things that we're doing on our side. And at the end of the day, if folks don't like it, we're not holding the gun to their head. They're free to leave whenever they want.
And some are.
Exactly. Yeah, some definitely are. So something like Twitter, for example, we don't own in this strategy. We do own it in other strategies in the company. I love Twitter personally, but with what they've done lately with restricting people's ability to just share whatever they want, which, we could argue whether that's philosophically the right or wrong thing to do, but it is providing somewhat of an exodus off of that platform and onto another platform that is very similar, that's promised not to do that. So there are business opportunities being created as a result of some of this behavior.
All right, Corey, excellent report. Appreciate your time and all your explanation. And do we have anything from Mr. Agnew?
Yeah, just to mention, we mentioned Facebook, and I think, Corey, you said it's about a 5% position in your portfolio, but it's actually about a 0.86% position in the overall portfolio. So it's not just so you're aware, it's not a significant piece. It's well diversified. It's a small piece of the pension.
Okay.
Thank you all for having me very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holiday season.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good. All right.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Same to you. Okay. All right. We're right on schedule for Mr. Anderson.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Please introduce yourself and then you may proceed, Michael.
Don't we have to go to the Board of Elections?
Yep, we can do that. I would like to call to order the Board of Elections to hear from our director, Michael Anderson.
Good job.
Good morning, Michael Anderson, Chief Clerk Voter Registration. Just here today are 5 days from our initial signing of the election returns expired yesterday for any contests and or objections, and we did not receive any. Therefore, I would ask the board to do the final signing for the returns from the 2020 general election to make those returns final.
I'd be honored to make that motion to sign off on the ballot of the elections, and we still have that 130 that the courts could add to it by court order.
Yeah, actually, we'll talk about that here in a second.
So is your motion just to approve what we've certified already, Commissioner? Is that what I'm seconding?
Yes, knowing that that 130 is still out there, that's for clarification for the public.
Oh, thank you. I'll second the motion.
If we have a motion and a second, I suppose we should have some discussion. Is that correct?
From Michael, yes.
Oh, maybe from commissioners as well.
Yeah. But he said he had something to
Yeah,
say.
I mean, I have obviously the 130 ballots we have to discuss, but that does not affect the certification of the results that we signed last Thursday. So I was actually going to bring that up after this motion passed.
Great. That's what I just wanted to be clear on the motion. Thank you.
Yeah, before we vote on the commotion, the motion, I would just like to comment again as to how confident I am, and I'm sure that although they can speak for themselves, my colleagues are, as to how we handled the election here and the computations and all the ballot counting here in Lebanon County. I think it was impeccable and above reproach, and just with the exception of a few glitches. But I would also like to take the opportunity to indicate, at least from my perspective and seeing it closely, I think the system is flawed, and we did the ultimate job within the parameters that have been given to us by the legislature and by the courts, but that not that they could not be improved upon. And my personal opinion is that the avalanche of mail-in voting causes a tremendous amount of pressure on voter offices in every county in the nation. And the more pressure and the greater number that you have ballots that come in that regard, makes the job more and more difficult, and more difficult to do a perfect job. So I'm hoping that the courts, and particularly the legislature, because this should not be in the charge of the courts. The courts should not be determining our election process and procedure. That is designated by the Constitution to the state legislatures, and they are the ones that should fix it. So I call on our legislators to take a close look at what we've been through here in Pennsylvania and to make proper adjustments. With that said, I'll call for a vote on the motion, unless there's other comment.
You did say commissioners will get a chance to talk.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Right. I respectfully disagree, sir,
Of
on
course.
the mail-in voting. I think that it went as good as could be expected, with the exception of that 130. During a crisis in America with the pandemic, it gave people an alternative, and that was one of many reasons. They didn't really need a reason. It's a no reason ballot, but especially during this pandemic, it gave people with compromised immune systems or spouses who might have something going on an option. And I just think it was a godsend to have that available. And I want to say thank you to all the powers that be that made that happen.
Okay.
Bill, I'd like to just chime in. I think evidence of what you're, bringing forth in terms of your description of the process and so on, and your disappointment with it, is that I think 25% of the directors of elections in Pennsylvania resigned prior to this election because of this avalanche of mail and all the other accompanying issues and the pressures that were brought to bear on these election offices. So it's a tip of the hat to Michael for his team for the endurance and their class handling of all these challenges. But I think that speaks to the issues that we're facing. If 25% of those folks resign because they just, threw up their hands and said, I'm out of here, and left counties in the lurch. And certainly we appreciate Michael sticking with us.
Not only sticking with us, but doing a great job too,
You
as
betcha.
well. So, yeah.
Yep.
Are there any questions from the outside on this at this point before we vote? Any hands raised?
Don't see any.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion indicate to certify the election results indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered, Michael.
Thank you. And then when you are in the office, there will be that certification form. There's actually 2 of them for you to sign to make that official. The last order of business I have, obviously, is the 3-day, what we call the 3-day ballots. So the 130 ballots that arrived to us after 8 p.m. on election day, but before 5 p.m. on November 6th, that were postmarked or had no postmarks. We at this point have just held them. I actually, for visual purposes, draw here in the safe. So at this point, nothing has changed from our last meeting. Obviously, the Department of State, the only additional guidance that they have given us is that if we have counted them, which we are not required to, is that they want us to do a separate, what we call computation of those ballots. My suggestion to the board is that we stay the course with what we have done. I think that counting them at this point just muddies the water a little bit, because they say you can count them, but you can't put them in your official count. To me, that's confusing at best for voters. So until we get further guidance, my suggestion and my recommendation to the board would be that we would continue to hold these ballots until we get further direction. I know that this is still with the U.S. Supreme Court, based on a challenge that the state Supreme Court decision. So at this point, I would like to make the recommendation that we hold them, but we do a computation page that would be signed by the board that shows these 130 ballots that are made up of 116 ballots that were postmarked that they arrived on time, meaning they have a postmark of November 3rd or before. And then we have 14 that arrived with no postmark at all. That makes up 116, and 114 make up the 130 ballots. So that would be my recommendation to the board, to address those 130 ballots.
I'm not certain that we need that. That is the action that we last took, and I would think that that action would stand until we did something to change it. So does anyone have a different opinion?
Did we actually vote on that, Michael, before to hold them?
You did. I think the only change I have is just the signature part. I would like to have, the state is just asking us that part of our certification that's separate from our, since we didn't address it before, it's just to basically say, yes, we have the 130 ballots. Here's the makeup of those ballots. And that we will hold them and keep them segregated until we get further court action. That would be the only difference. That's why I wanted to bring it up today, because I would like you to sign off on that recommendation.
Is there a certification for that, or a form for that, or a letter to be sent? Or
Yeah, I talked to the department. They actually gave us a certification form for the count, which obviously we didn't do. So then when I reached out to them, they said basically if I just put verbiage of the number of ballots and how they're broken out, and that we were holding them and segregating them based on any further court order, and that the board signed, that's what they would like from us.
Well, then I make a motion to fill in the form certifying, signed by the commissioners, the Board of Election, the 30 ballots in question.
30.
130.
130, yes, correct.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Anything else, Michael?
That is all I have. I thank you all for your support. I appreciate the kind words. Must just obviously thank my staff who did a tremendous job, and all of the poll workers throughout the county and the individuals that came here to help us count. Could not have done it without them. So thank you all, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
All right, we'll resume our, is this under election or is it under the regular meeting, Joellen?
Regular meeting, there's a question in the chat I thought I should draw your attention to.
All right, well, let's reconvene first, and then we'll entertain a question if there is one.
It says, I understand that our county has 20 ICU beds, but 36 COVID-19 patients. Are we in crisis mode?
Well, I think that would be a question.
It sounds like a question for WellSpan, not us.
I wouldn't want to respond to that. That's for the health officials to respond to. Okay, Jamie, back to the agenda.
Yeah, the item for 10:30 is the CARES Awards, CARES Grant Awards, and then I'll have a number of things to follow with that, including a bid award on an access driveway bid that we have for the jail. But before we get to those things, then we could bring into the meeting the group of people who have been so instrumental in this CARES grant and the grant awards. And as you all know, we had a workshop yesterday afternoon that to hash some of this out and answer some questions and give a little bit of direction in terms of the awards. And I believe that this group worked on those last evening and is here probably through Karen Grow, is here to present recommendations to you on the remaining $3.5 million that's available for these business grants. So we'll just wait for everyone to populate.
See, the A team is arriving.
Oh, there she is.
Okay. All right. Brooke and Karen, no Jen Kuzo, it looks like, but maybe she couldn't make it. I'm not sure.
All right, the A team has arrived. Let's proceed. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
Okay.
Jamie, do you want to tee it up, or do you want Karen to?
Just recap yesterday. Again, this is the second and final round. There's $3.5 million left for this second round. Some of the numbers that that Karen went over yesterday. I think there were nearly 300 applications this time, and about a little over 7 million in applications. And so some decisions needed to be made in terms of scoring cutoffs and who is going to be funded this time around. And you had provided a little bit of guidance in terms of some of the outlying applications and where the cutoff ought to be in terms of eligibility. So that's all I'll really have. Turn it over to Karen to explain what she's come up with.
Okay. If you'll unmute Karen, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come back and talk about this again. As you know that we had the meeting yesterday, we had to make, you had to make some very difficult decisions, but for consistency, you decided to include anybody who scored a 45 or higher in the rubric, with a couple of exceptions based on an increase in revenue year over year in a certain category. To do that, it would have required $4.5 million in grant funds to be able to fund everybody at 100%. So again, the decision was made in yesterday's meeting to reduce everybody to a 77% grant so that everybody in that list could at least receive some monies. So an updated list was provided last night or early this morning of those names that have passed the review committee's approval and scrutiny, who have scored under the terms that you have requested, and the grants listed are those at the 77% category. So at this time, we have a list of 195 businesses and nonprofits for a total of $3.475 million in grant allocations.
Okay. Do we need a motion, or we entertain a motion to accept that report and at 77%? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the report of the committee.
And I'll second the motion.
All right. Motion is on the floor with a second to all the candidates that 45 or higher scoring at 77%. And that would be within the allocated or money that we have available, I should say. Any other discussion from any of the rest of the team or commissioners? Let's go ahead.
Yes, one of the things I thought would be important to share with not just the public, but these potential recipients of funds is that if indeed the state allocates more money to the county, we would have a second chance to up them to the 100%. But at this time, we just don't have it. But it's a possibility in the future, but we can't make a promise.
Well, we may have an opportunity to bump them above 77%, if that would be possible, but not necessarily to 100%.
I'm not even sure that we decided that. When did we decide that?
It was discussed yesterday as a possibility. It wasn't an absolute. That's the point I'm bringing it up.
I think she's referring to the potential that there will be other monies available in December. At that point, you would decide
how those monies would be dispersed, but not necessarily adding into this round of recipients. I don't think we discussed that really.
We discussed it as a possibility.
Okay.
And I just didn't want to put it out there as, expectation of 100% when it's not, we're not anywhere near that yet.
And especially when there are some folks that have been excluded by the change in the process. So, we may want to revisit totally if we have any additional funding.
Okay. All right. Anyone else from the panel? With thanking you all for your efforts again and the fast turnaround on this information so that we can get this money into the recipients' hands. That's it was a lot of work to put it all together, and we appreciate the professionalism behind it as we did in the first round. Anything else, Jamie, before?
Before or after, it doesn't matter. I can insert it here, but I just want the successful applicants to know, or the award applicants to know, that we will work as fast as we can to get these paid out. Dawn and the controller's office here, Dawn here in the office, and the controller's office worked very, very well on the first round, and I think it went relatively quickly, actually quicker than I thought. It got a little bit of a slow start, but once it got rolling, they really came in. We'll need W-9s from the applicants and certain things, and we'll also filter these through the Tax Claim Bureau to see if there's any outstanding taxes, which we did the last time, before anything is paid out. So, did it take us 3 weeks maybe to get all of the payments out? Was it 3 weeks or was it a month till the last one? Not sure. Dawn would know best.
About 3 weeks.
Yeah. So I just wanted to follow up because I don't think we mentioned that at the end of the first round. So now I'm on track record. And there is a hand up with Laura LeBeau in the audience if you want to handle that now.
Well, yeah, or do we want to vote on the motion?
It's your call.
Oh, no, it has an impact.
I don't think it would. But that's the pleasure. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, now we'll entertain questions from outside.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, Karen, I just wanted clarification, and I apologize if I missed it. So what was the outcome for those exceptional cases and those outliers like the Wolf Driving School and the other ones that you discussed yesterday?
So we had a meeting last night with those who were available from sort of the oversight committee, many on the panel today. We went through each one and discussed those circumstances that skewed perhaps their scoring and eliminated a large portion of them, figuring that their score was relevant the way it stood, so they were not eligible. There were, I think, maybe 5 that maybe, or 3 or 5, there weren't a lot that actually made it through, because once we took into consideration the additional information that was provided, it would have changed their score and made them eligible. We did not change their score in the listing, but upon our review and calculation, we deemed them eligible under the criteria as everybody else. So we continued their scoring the way it was, knowing that the extraneous factors would have made them eligible. So there was only a few of them that actually went through that way.
And so are they getting the 77% grant?
There are 3, I think, that have that lower score below the 45 that, again, based on the circumstances, their score would have come in differently. There were a couple of others that were just an interpretation of this supplementary document. So those are already in and did score high enough automatically, but the 3 that were determined by the review committee were passed through and are on the list for the commissioners.
Okay, great, thanks.
And I think by going from 50 to 45, we picked up maybe 16 additional applicants. So that was a good effort. Thank you. And anything else for the panel or?
I think from here then, Barb Kaufman's been doing the PR for it, so she'll get the information she needs to announce the award. Is that right, Barb? That'll be next. And like I said, we'll process payments, and then that will be, unless there's some development in December of funding, then that will be the closure of this whole expedition. It's been something since, I guess, August or July. Well, actually, we started on it even before the awards of the fund.
Started in June.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to all of you, because you have done a stellar job, and to see this happen in our community, and businesses helping businesses, and nonprofits helping nonprofits, and tourism helping tourists. It just was really neat to see how everybody came together, worked together for the good of their fellow man. And it makes me proud to be from Lebanon County. Thank you all.
This was a great team. And I think I mentioned before, I speak with some auditors from DCED each month about our CARES funds. We submit a report, and then they always have a follow-up call. And there are still counties that are behind us, but should have been ahead of us. They as you know, has been well publicized. We were late in getting our funding, and so we fell behind by about a month. But because of the work of this group, you know, they were in the starting blocks ready to go. And so when middle of August or end of August came and the money showed up, we were off and running, and now are ahead of some of those counties that just not sure what they're up to. But you know, I do hear from DCED of what percentage of funds have been spent by some of the other counties. And you know, we're going to be, with this $3.5 million being awarded, we're probably going to be somewhere around 80% of the funds having been spent. The rest being, you know, some of the, well, you'll have some of those ahead of you here in a few minutes when I ask for the approvals. But really, really a stellar job. And I can't think of any major hurdles that we came across. It was just so well executed. So,
Well, we're just blessed to have Karen Grow and company in Lebanon County. And I mean that wholeheartedly. She was definitely the right person to spearhead this and to organize it. And she had a great group of people working closely with her. And we greatly appreciate your efforts, folks. Thank you.
You betcha. Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you.
And go ahead, Karen.
May I add one thing in? Thank you, Commissioner. This is, I do need to say that this is a Band-Aid on the economic recovery of our county. While this may be the saving grace for many businesses and nonprofits, this is not the be all and end all. This is not that everybody walks away happy and says, oh, yay, look what we did. We saved everybody. We still need to continue a very strong effort for economic recovery. Susan Eberly and the Lebanon Valley Economic Development Corporation is spearheading an economic recovery plan. We are all team members with that, and I'm happy to be a part of it as well. So I think we need to remember that our county is still healing. Our businesses are still struggling. And whatever we can do as a community is really important, to whether it's shopping local, whether it's looking for other ways to support the businesses and nonprofits in the area, knowing that we still need additional programs, potentially funding, mentoring, whatever else that looks like. We are still in this race and have a long way to go.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Next, Jamie, do you want to clean up some things before we go on to Susan's?
Well, actually, since she's here and if she's okay and ready, we can leave her on the panel here and go to her agenda item. Susan, if you're okay with that. Okay.
Talking about my next generation.
We'll see the rest of you at the you know, whenever we can celebrate the success here.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you again.
Okay.
All right, so Susan has, on behalf of Lebanon Valley Economic Development Corporation, a next generation loan for your approval. And I believe it was part of your packet. It's for Ephraim and Annie Stoltzfus. So with that, I'll turn it over to Susan.
Okay. Can you hear me today?
Oh yeah, very good.
Okay, good. Okay, it's a next generation loan that will, for Ephraim and Annie Stoltzfus. They're planning to purchase a 133-acre organic farm on 39 Gulf Road in Myerstown. And the Jackson Township IDA has agreed to be the conduit for the funding. So the TEFRA meeting went on 15 minutes ago with no hitch. And we're just asking, the next step is to get the commissioner's approval of saying that they bless this project in Lebanon County.
And the total amount?
Total cost of the project is $2,219,500, and $543,000 of that will be floated through the Next Generation program.
Wow, that's pretty high land value. It's
yeah, but a little bit of that is some construction costs and refinancing.
okay.
Is that purchase of the cows too? Because I see it's a dairy farm. And
Well,
it's organic?
Yeah, actually, Ephraim and Annie had been leasing the farm for several years, and they just had the opportunity now to be able to purchase the farm.
Okay, so they already own the cows.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we got that sorted out. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the EDC request for the farm on 39 Gulf Road in Myerstown for a next generation farm loan.
And I'll second that, Chairman.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so ordered. All right, Susan, anything else?
I just want to say thank you for having me here today and for always being supportive of the loans and the other projects throughout the county. And I look forward to working with you as we move forward on the economic recovery initiative as well. So have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Next, what I'd like to do is bring Dennis Firestone in, purchasing agent. We did a bid advertisement for a driveway access to the jail. And this is a project that you'll have to dig deep into your memory about maybe, but for a number of years now, we've still been receiving deliveries to the jail through the Cedar Haven facility, coming right by the Renova Center, where we lease that, at least that part of the building, and then entering into the back of the jail through the gate. And in order to discontinue that traversing across the Cedar Haven property, we designed a driveway into the jail off of Metro Drive. And Steckbeck Engineering took care of that design, took care of the bid advertisement. This was budgeted in the 2020 budget under your capital fund. And I think today it was advertised on October 15th and October 30th. And today we have a fair number of bids. 10 or 11 bids, I think, came in with a pretty far range, but we do have a recommendation. So I'll leave Dennis with that, and I'm going to try and share my screen with you to bring those up here. We've got Dennis in. Okay.
I am here.
Okay. Let's see if I can do that.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning. How are you? Dennis Firestone, purchasing agent. Dawn did tell me, I believe she did put in your packet a list of the bids. There's 11 of them. We'll start with the lowest one. We'll start with the lowest bid, which, as you can see, was quite surprising to Jamie and I when we first saw it. But the lowest bid is Ferris Farhat General Construction for $65,432.10. Second bid being Farhat Excavating LLC for $110,083 even. Third bid, Custer Excavating LLC for $124,460 even. Umbriac Trucking LLC, $132,350 even. Woodland Contractors Incorporated, $134,217 even. Kinsley Construction Site Work, $168,821 even. Shower Electric, $174,990 even. H&K Group Incorporated, $213,360 even. Construction Masters Services LLC, $219,500 even. Berg Construction LLC, $227,260 even. And the last one being JVI Group Incorporated, $275,691. That's quite a disparity when you go from $65,000 to $275,000. Either the first bid really wanted it or the last bid didn't want it. I don't know. I've never seen one being that far off before.
Yes. A lot of interest, though. That was a good thing.
Definitely a lot of interest.
So the letter, Dennis, what,
I'm sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
you want to go with what Steckbeck's saying here?
Steckbeck recommended that Ferris Farhat General Construction, they met all the requirements that they had, with the exception of, they recommended that the bid be awarded to them based on the, let me see, that they, once the performance bond and the payment bond, they recommend it be awarded contingent upon receipt of the performance bond and the payment bond, which we have not yet received at this time. But everything else from their perspective and their review of the packets, everything has been in accordance with the bid requirements as it went out.
Dennis,
Yes,
I have a couple questions, please.
I'll try and answer them. Go ahead.
What is the difference between Ferris Farhat General Construction and Farhat Excavating? Are they at different locations, brothers, or?
That's a good question because I don't know the answer to that. I assume they're two separate construction companies, or one is construction and one is doing an excavating part. Whether or not they're connected in some way, I have no idea of knowing that.
All right, I was just curious, but it does say that Cumberland, if I remember reading it, Cumberland County Commissioners have used this company, Ferris Farhat, successfully.
That's correct. They did make that, they did do work in the region, including work for the Cumberland County Commissioners.
And where is Ferris Farhat located?
Halifax.
Halifax.
Yes.
So it's not, I mean, it's in Pennsylvania. I just was
That's
curious.
correct.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there any further discussion needed before we get the motion underway?
I guess
I'll entertain the motion.
the only other thing I wanted to ask was that in the past, we opened the bids at the meeting. These all came in electronically. Is that how we got the list?
That's correct. We went through Penn Bid and they did come in electronically.
Thank you.
All right. Entertain a motion, please, subject to the things that are outstanding.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation to grant the bid award.
And I'll second the motion.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we approve, as recommended by Steckbeck Engineering, the award with the understanding that they will comply with all the outstanding requirements for Ferris Farhat General Construction, LLC. And will any further discussion needed? Dennis, anything else before we vote?
Well, sir, unless there's any other questions of me, that's all I had.
Okay. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, Dennis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
I do have a question related to it, not that it would change, but Jamie, what did we obviously had projections when we let this bid. What was?
Yeah, there was a bit of an unknown, you know, on the design at the time. So we would have done this a year ago, but I had put $200,000 in there.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's good news.
Yes, sure is. Yeah. Okay. I've got a number of property-related items here for your approval. First one is, this goes back now several years. The county purchased a residential home at 1320 Cornwall Road. When it went up, went up on the market, so it was a fair market, and you know, we made an offer and bought the home. The reason for doing that at the time is that there is a design on the table, and PennDOT is proceeding with revamping the intersection of Wilhelm Avenue at Cornwall Road, and York Street, which comes up from the Coles complex there. And that's going to get completely redone and aligned, so there will no longer be the dogleg from York Street over to Wilhelm. Remember all that? This probably goes back to about 5 or 6 years. So at that time, it came on the market. It was discussed. It was an opportune time to purchase that property, since rather than having to go through any sort of taking or anything like that, it was bought when it was made available. And we used liquid fuels funds at the time to do so, which you're familiar with, being used for transportation projects. We did have a tenant in that home. It's a usable home. We did have a tenant in there for about 5 years. It remained on the tax rolls, and taxes were paid on it since it was producing a rental income. He moved out about 2 years ago, and it looked like the process was moving forward, so I did not fill or advertise it for a new tenant, only to maybe have to, kick them out soon after. That project is moving along. Our folks over in planning, John Fitzke, Song Kim, everyone has been having meetings all along here, and the next step in the process, and along with North Cornwall Township, the next step in the process is what I'll be asking you to do here, and that is that PennDOT is suggesting, and North Cornwall Township is willing to receive that property from the county for $1. Again, liquid fuels funds were used, not general fund county money were used for that. And the reason they're recommending that, and the reason that makes sense, is that when the intersection goes in, there was going to be some residual land that's going to be probably slivers on each side of it that will just end up then with North Cornwall as sort of, shoulder, right of way, that sort of thing, rather than the county holding on to it and having, to do that later on. It would just make the process go forward a little bit easier. So our solicitor has drafted a deed to transfer ownership for $1 to North Cornwall Township. And I would ask for your approval to make that transaction.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to transfer ownership of 320 South 18th Street to North Cornwall Township.
Carolyn, that's not the property.
It's 1320 Cornwall Road. North Cornwall Township's building is located at
That's where
320. They're listed as the buyer. So the property is 1320 Cornwall Road.
Okay, 1320. Yes, I do have 1320 on here. I apparently don't have the right paper.
Well, you probably were looking at the cover sheet.
Yeah, that's the municipal building address for North Cornwall Township.
Oh, back here it is. Okay, 1320 Cornwall Road. There it is. You're right. I found it.
All right, I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to convey that property to North Cornwall Township. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right. Very good. That's going to be a great improvement to that intersection.
I'll say.
A lot of accidents happen there.
There is. All right. Next is a follow-up on some action you took several weeks ago, and this is regarding Camp Shand. Just to recap, the county several weeks ago signed a sales agreement with the Lancaster County YMCA to purchase Camp Shand, which is a 66-acre parcel along Route 322 in Cornwall Borough. Has a long, long history in Lebanon County, going back to Camp Kiwanis, going back to Lefty Hallman's days with the YMCA, and a lot of people who I guess I can safely say are baby boomers can remember being at that camp way back in teenager and earlier years. At least I hear a lot of that since this.
Yes, Jamie, you're so young. Yes.
Yeah. So
calling us old.
Nope. Well, I don't know.
Be gentle. Go ahead.
No. So anyhow, what I have here is a resolution drafted by our solicitor authorizing the acquisition of those lands. And this resolution is necessary for the title company to see that the action was taken, and also included is the settlement sheet, which we will have at the settlement table in a couple of weeks, and gives the amounts for the whole transaction, which is to recap $725,000 for the parcel, and then there is the split of the for the cost of the title insurance, and then the split of the transfer charges. So it would be $725,000 plus $12,215.75 coming from the county at the transaction, and that is coming out of capital funds, as you indicated, approved earlier. So would need your approval on this resolution.
I make a motion to approve the resolution dealing with the purchase of Camp Shand.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we follow through on this purchase of Camp Shand and another enhancement of the quality of life in Lebanon County for perpetuity. Any further discussion regarding that? Commissioner Litz, I believe.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out one of the things that comes with this property that I found a lot of people are excited about is that there's an outdoor pool for the young people. And apparently with the closing of Coleman's, they're looking forward for their kids going to camp there and swimming.
Okay, good.
Anything else? Okay, if not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, that's another very big step in the direction of, following with the rail trail and Governor Dick and other quality of life things that we're involved with. So that's a nice fit for us. Thank you.
We'll begin some discussions with the Y on what kind of an agreement we'll have hammered out between the county and the YMCA. And again, Assistant Solicitor Tom Long is going to be involved with that. Wiley Parker is on the Y board, is going to be involved with that. Bill Tifton, et cetera. So I'll keep you apprised of that. Okay. The last property-related item I have is I'm not asking for your action yet today. I just simply want to announce this. That we're in the process of finalizing a sales agreement, which I'll put before you, I expect on December 3rd. And that would be for the purchase of the Lebanon City portion of the courthouse property, or the municipal building property. We have been in negotiations with them now for several months. It's gone back and forth several times to try to hammer out some of the details. And I'm comfortable announcing this today, since there's been a lot of inquiry about it. The city also wants to be able to inform HAC and some others that they've been having, and also the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, where they're seeking a capital assistance grant, that this has moved along. So we'll be able to, by announcing that, they'll have some ability to inform them of that, and then we'll have an agreement in a couple of weeks. But in general, the transaction is for the 3/12 interest of the property that the city is deeded by deed in the late 1950s, along with a parcel that is located over on Oak Street, where our hazmat garage is located currently. That is a city-owned parcel. However, back in the 1980s, the county was granted permission to build that building for the hazmat garage, and we've existed there. And with the city moving to a different location downtown, it seemed to make sense to us to seek to secure that in the county's ownership. And even though the hazmat apparatus and crew will likely move out of that with the new 911 center, it would still serve a good purpose, whether it be for storage or for maintenance or whatever use we have for it at that time. The agreed upon price is $2,250,000. And we expected, as I say, a settlement agreement here in the next couple of weeks, and settle on the property in March or April of 2021. And then it is anticipated that the city would be vacating sometime in early 2022 once their renovations are complete at the present HAC building. So I just wanted to announce that, make that public, those general terms. So unless commissioners, you have anything to add, I've spoken with each of you, I think, about this at length. We've been going at this for months, so.
Many meetings.
Yeah. Anything?
Would have anything to add to Jamie's synopsis?
I just, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think it's a good move for the county. Of course, Lebanon County, at least pre-pandemic, and hopefully during and post, we continue to grow as a county. The demands on county government become greater and greater, and we are short-spaced even now. So this will give us an opportunity for some very rightly priced square footage moving forward. So I think it's a good choice for us.
Well put. Okay.
Probably announcing this, I'll be bombarded with some departments saying, when can I move in?
Yeah.
But
But it's close and handy to the courthouse, so it's a little extra parking. And if it's storage or whatever, it's just so handy to be close to the courthouse. No car necessary to move.
so we'll make those determinations, I believe, on space allocation, who moves where, and how, and obviously we'll have to do some renovations of our own to make the space accommodating for depending on which departments. But we do have a number who are very cramped. The sheriff's office is one, the district attorney, domestic relations, children and youth. They've been, they're really waiting. And in fact, we may be seeking some short-term space for them in the immediate future here, even before the city makes any sorts of moves.
Yeah.
Got a few empty rooms over there that I think we can use for some additional caseworkers that are being required based on the different ratios for children and youth casework ratios. So that's that.
Okay. Any action, Jamie, or just an
announcement at this point? The action will be on the sales agreement once we hammer it out and you have a chance to look it over. You do have a hand up with Laura LeBeau.
All right. Bring her in.
Yes, thank you. Is this, Jamie, did you say 2,250,000?
Yes.
And is this money on hand, or how is the city or the county paying?
Initially, it's money on hand. However, there will be a borrowing for the 911 center, so that's a discussion to have with the commissioners. We will sort of cover our bases by adopting a resolution that will allow us to reimburse ourselves for this out of borrowed funds if that's the desire. However, currently there is cash on hand to be able to do it. It's just that without reimbursing ourselves down the line potentially from borrowed funds, it would put a pretty big dent in the capital fund. So that's where we are at this point. So in order to make the transaction happen in the spring, there are funds on hand, but they have options then to replenish. And the borrowing rates obviously are very, very low right now, so it's a good time to get money without a lot of cost.
And the city would be vacating 100% like the police? I mean, everybody's going, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But not until sometime in 2022.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
More real estate issues, Jamie?
No. Nope. We shed one and gained another. That's the way it seems to go here, right?
All right.
All right. And, next item I have is, as we have at every meeting, is an approval for funds from the CARES. You did already approve the $3.475 million out of the CARES for the grants. I then have other expenditures from the other categories that are covered under CARES, namely in this case the municipal reimbursements, economic development efforts, and the mask campaign. So you were provided an overall list. Municipal reimbursements actually came in a bit surprisingly low. Their total amount in round numbers is about $48,000 in municipal reimbursements, and that's for any municipality in the county. And I think we asked them, we gave them 2 or 3 opportunities to submit their numbers, and we came in with about $48,000 in costs for any PPE they may have acquired or any other costs that are directly related or were directly related to coronavirus that they had to incur. So that's part of this. As you can see, there are about a dozen municipalities listed there. This also includes then the mask campaign, which for a large portion of this is the mask up signs that have been acquired by many businesses across the county, and they received $1,000 per entity for the use of the space and the display of those signs toward the Mask Up campaign. In this one, that's $489,000. And then there are also various agencies, vendors, and others who are receiving funds for their services toward this, whether it be design, printing, T-shirts. Let me see, what else do I recognize here? Video production and masks, including the direct mail mask campaign that was sent out. And then lastly, there are a few economic development efforts. They're listed as economic development efforts, but they were directly related to the Forward Together Lebanon effort that the EDC has undertaken. And this is sort of catching up on all of those expenses that were incurred really since April or May. Website development, public relations, ad placements, things like that. And those are all encompassed in the Kaufman Creative Services invoices that are included. So all total for today, I have $981,282.60 in expenditures. We will report these to DCED at the end of the month. And as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, I do have a monthly Zoom call with some auditors from DCED, as they do with every other county, checking up on the expenditures, making sure the money is being spent and how it's being spent and appropriately. So I'm asking for your approval on the $981,282.60 in CARES expenses.
Okay, Commissioner Litz, is that?
Yeah. First a question, and then I'll gladly make a motion. Did you mention the 36 signs going to school districts as well?
I didn't mention them specifically, but I believe they're in the 489,000.
Yeah, I think 525 additional mask up signs are going out. So anybody who didn't submit their picture has to do that on the maskuplebanon.com website. And
upload it to that page, yeah.
Yeah, we cannot approve it until you fulfill that last step. So do it now. We don't want to run out of time or money in order to pay you. And I just wanted to say that. That being said, I will make a motion to pay the $981,282.60.
And
CARES funding.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman, but I do want to comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm going to vote no against this. And most of the folks that stay tuned to my position in Lebanon County and on this issue understand that it's not against, obviously, the municipalities and some of the other things that, because it's grouped together with this mask up campaign that has been forced down our throat by the Wolf administration. And I might comment, I'm still waiting for the positive results from this great expenditure of money. It seems that our numbers are going up with everyone else's. So I don't think it's a good, I'm glad that we're using vendors locally, and I'm glad that local businesses are getting part of this. But as we saw earlier this morning, we were not able to meet the needs of all the businesses that actually needed funds directly to keep their businesses going. So that pretty much explains my vote on this item.
All right, the only thing I'd like to add is that in sort of touching on what Commissioner Litz had said, to make sure we have about 1,500, I think, total applicants for the $1,000 grant for advertising the signage for Mask Up. And they need to upload that picture with the, whatever it is that they've chosen as a sign with something related to their business, and upload that to the media page. That's how you get paid. So there are, several outstanding that have been approved otherwise, but they need to get that last piece accomplished in order to get that $1,000 check. And I'd also, we mentioned, of course, many times Karen and Grow and her team. I just, at this intersection, wanted to mention Dinny Kinlock and the relationship we've developed there. I think Fresh Creative was a good choice to be the quarterbacking firm for this. And certainly he's done a good job, as you can see, with distributing this effort as wide and far as we can within the county through as many, other agencies that do similar work to Fresh Creative. So I think they did a great job, and it continued to do a good job. It was a yeoman's effort to do what they've done, and I just wanted to single him out, as we did with Karen. I think in this side of the equation, he's done an equally laudable job.
Well, and if I may, I certainly want to thank Denny as well. I think, part of the instructions that the board gave him was to keep the money here and make sure that it gets out to a lot of different agencies and folks that provide these kind of services. And he certainly did do a great job with that.
Yeah, he did that. All right, Commissioner Litz, your hand is up.
Yes, my hand is up. I was wondering, Jamie, with this $981,282.60, what is the balance that we have left of the 2.8 million?
Well, you've paid out about 1.7 million. I believe encumbered yet and not paid is about another 700,000. So I expect this, this $1,000 grant for the signs really snowballed. Probably more so than anticipated, which is fine. But I am anticipating we're going to be somewhere in the 2.4 of the 2.8 million range, unless there's something at the end that's can still be done. I've not had any indication back from the governor's office. We did put a packet together of the mask campaign and all of the facets of it to forward onto the governor's office in an effort to maybe, in the 11th hour, be able to shift some of that money out of the mask campaign and then back into grants where we could quickly, disperse it. But I've not heard anything on that. So that's where we stand.
Okay. I noticed, or I haven't noticed, Channel 27 pop up. I saw 2 contracts go through for Channel 8. Where are they in the process?
As far as I know, it was being placed by Fresh Creative. I didn't see an invoice yet myself, but I only get them in these batches, so we can get an update on it.
All right, I was just curious.
All right, anything else? If not, all in favor of the motion approving the payment of $981,282.60. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 2-1 in the affirmative, so we will pay the bill. All right, Jamie.
Yep, 2 more things. First, the disabled veteran exemption requests from real estate taxes. I've got 2 who met all of the requirements and been forwarded by the assessment office. They are Frederick Halvin of Woodlawn Road, Lebanon, and Ryan Allman of Hill Church Road, Anvil.
I make a motion to grant the 2 real estate tax exemptions as recommended by the assessment department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those exemptions for property taxes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay. Last item is I have 3 appointments for the Lebanon Transit Authority Board. These are 3. Hold on a second.
Fire truck.
Train going through someone's office? Oh my God.
These are 3 current members of Lebanon Transit whose terms are expiring in January and who are willing to be reappointed to another term that would end January 31st of 2024. They are Alan Freed, Brenda Phillips, and Patrick Kerwin.
I'll make a motion to appoint the three continuing terms of the three great people as recommended by Terry.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve those three folks for re-upping their terms with transit. Any further discussion? I will disclose that Brenda Phillips is my wife, but we have no pecuniary interest or gain from that relationship. I mean, the marriage, not, but I'm talking about the board place. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. All right.
Good recovery there, Commissioner.
Thank you.
I hope she wasn't watching.
And that's everything that I have for this meeting.
All right, I move to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you all for your attendance. A lot of good things accomplished today, and stay well.
See you at 1:40.
Yes, sir. For
Chestnut Fields, yep. All right.